Welcome back to Over 55. I'd like to introduce Brian Field, who's the Doctor of Audiology at Meridan Hearing Center. I got it right, Brian?
You got it absolutely correct.
Excellent. Well, thank you for coming on the show. This is Hearing Month.
Yes. May is Speech and Hearing Month. It's been that way for as long as I can remember.
Oh, that's good to know. Maybe you can tell us a bit about it, because I'm at that age where I know I'm having some hearing difficulties, and I'm sure I'm not alone.
You're not alone, and that's you know, part of the baby boomer group, and the statistics out there would say that about 50% of people over age 60 have a significant hearing loss. People don't usually do something about it till a while after that. The sort of average age for people beginning to use hearing aids is about 67 or 68, right in that neighborhood.
Is it really?
And again, the research would show that the length of time between when someone first seeks help for their hearing before they finally do something about it is about 7 years. So people are slow to be convinced that they need to do something, even in the face of having difficulty. Their family's complaining, or they're noticing that they don't hear so well when they're out at a party or a restaurant. And so it's a slow, gradual, insidious thing for most people.
Okay, so it's not just us guys ignoring our wives.
Not just guys ignoring wives.
So we have an excuse.
Yes, that's true.
That's a good part.
Hearing, and also, as well as just our hearing going, unfortunately, our processing slows down a bit as we get older as well. So we've got both things fighting against us.
So is it that we just sort of had a tendency where we need glasses, we get glasses because we can't see the function. So if we think we can hear a bit, that's good enough until it gets to the point? That
tends to be what happens. It'll get to some tipping point at some point where either, you know, the family says, "Dad, go do something. We can't stay on the TV this loud," or a particular instance will make you say, "You know what? I really am missing things. I've got to do something about this."
Now they can come to your facility and get hearing tests.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's my job as an audiologist. Primarily is to do the diagnostic work. So we assess the hearing, find out exactly what's going on. If it's something that requires medical intervention, if it's due to a disease process that's going on, then we would make the appropriate referral to an ear, nose, and throat surgeon or back to your family physician, whatever would be the appropriate thing. If it's not that, and in 90% of the cases it's not something that's medically treatable, then we would look at appropriate ways to handle that, whether it's with a specific device. If your issue is you just have trouble hearing on the telephone, we might use just a device for your phone, or we might use a more generalized device like a hearing aid. And we've got some pretty sophisticated devices out there now.
Yeah, now I saw some of these, I'm going to call them almost toys, because they're like micro.
They are, well, some of them are micro, and some of them have some really interesting connectivity features. And one of the things, the direction, all hearing aids are digital devices now. They all have little computers built inside of them. So everything is done in a digital format, which means we can do something called digital signal processing, which helps us to hear in noise better than we ever could before with hearing aids. Never as good as our own ears, but much better. But this is a really tiny one from one of the manufacturers. It's called a deep fitting, completely in the canal hearing aid. And this was built to fit my ear, so I'm just going to put it in place so you can see what it looks like. But the thing about this is, when it's in place, it's right out of sight. I don't know whether that can get zoomed in on there or not.
It's really tiny.
But it's tiny. It fits right out of sight. No one would see that it's there. And it has a few acoustic advantages as well as just cosmetic. Because it's deep in the canal, it helps to avoid something called the occlusion effect. And that's something you feel when you put earphones in. Your own voice sounds loud inside your own head. It helps to reduce that. It reduces wind noise. Whenever wind blows past a microphone, it makes noise. It's well protected from that. So some really good advantages. Disadvantages is it's tiny. So if you have trouble with arthritis or with poor dexterity, it can be too tiny to operate. And as well, it's dependent on your ear size. Not all ears are big enough, or some are too crooked. We just can't build it for everybody.
So you actually mold it to the ear canal. And
we have to take an impression. It has to be built to fit the individual. And it's also dependent on the hearing loss as well. It's not designed for every type of hearing loss. But that's one nice thing.
And that amazes me, and I don't know if people can see it, but I mean, I thought this was an aerial right here, if you can see this. But it's actually to pull it out of your ear because it's so small.
It's so deep in your ear you couldn't get a hold of it. The other thing that's happening out there, and I'll just show you, a couple of different manufacturers are making devices like this. This is a type of device that fits over your ear and fits in like this. So again, when it's in place, there's not much to see, but it's designed for the typical aging type of hearing loss where we maintain our hearing in the low bass tones but lose the high pitches. This is designed to just amplify the ones we don't hear well and leave the other ones alone and not plug your ear. But the nice thing is, these companies have been able to build wireless receiving technology right inside the hearing aid. So we can have a device that you wear in your ear, and you can, I think I've got it in my pocket here still, a little phone clip that clips on to your tie or your shirt like this, and this is all connected to your BlackBerry or your cell phone. So when your phone rings, you'll hear it ringing in your hearing aids. You touch this and say, hello, this is your microphone for talking, and the sound comes right through your hearing aid. So it allows you to have your wireless Bluetooth so you can drive and talk without having to take hearing aids off and putting on another device. So for some of our younger hearing impaired people who are still busy in the business world, great device.
That's incredible technology.
As well, a little device like this that can plug into your TV can send the audio signal wirelessly out to the hearing aid. So you can sit there in the room and you can set the TV where you want it to be. Your family can set it where they want it to be. Everybody's happy. They can all watch the TV together at the same time. So some really nice things are happening as wireless technology is shrinking and the computer technology is shrinking. It allows us to use remote controls. Again, with that wireless technology, we can give you a little remote microphone that looks like this. So if you go to a meeting and you're having trouble because of all the noise around, you can ask the speaker to wear this, and it will transmit the signal right to your hearing aids wirelessly. So lots of neat things happening with hearing aids.
I don't know, I mean, unless you have hearing issues and you come back after 7 years, I don't think a lot of us really stay tuned to how this technology just is zooming.
And you're right, and that's my job. That's my job, to know who's building what and what's a good product and what has an application to my patients and who's it the right thing for and who's it not the right thing for. So part of our assessment is looking at things like I mentioned, dexterity and your vision. If you have poor vision, we've got to use a hearing aid that you can see or work with. So all those things have to be looked at when we're deciding what would be the best product for an individual.
Yeah, and it's to the point where so rather than wait the 7 years till you're almost stone deaf or you're causing aggravation in your family, start to see this, because I think people just thought they were going to have a hearing aid to hear something. But when you start talking about, a lot of people spend time watching television, and this is a great feature because it isolates it to that person, and then they can hear it, and it's not driving everybody else crazy.
Really some nice things happening with that. And the technology is one thing. So it's very important to have a proper assessment as well. They have to work in connection with each other.
Yeah, because you're not going to try to go to some place that you see it advertised in the back of the TV guide, buy the hearing aid for $19.95. I'm sure it'll be great. Yeah,
you want to watch out for those for sure.
They're not the ones you should follow. Now, we spoke earlier, you and I, before the show, on tinnitus?
Tinnitus or tinnitus, it can be pronounced either way.
Is there help for people out there? Because it seems to be coming more and more. Maybe I'm knowing older people, but it seems to be coming more.
It's pretty common. In fact, it's very common, and it's not uncommon at all to have tinnitus along with hearing loss. That's where it comes from. As the ear is damaged either through aging or through noise exposure or other disease courses, it can send off this errant signal that our brain recognizes as this noise. And we can't really make it go away as a rule, although it can be made worse if you're overtired, if you're under stress, if you've got temporomandibular joint dysfunction. All those things can either create it or make it worse. So we rule out those things first, deal with those if we need to. If you've got a bad neck, we'll get that looked after. But if it turns out that it's just due to the hearing loss, one of the things we can do is actually often fit people with a mild gain hearing aid, because usually there's some hearing loss present. The hearing aid makes the world around us more audible. It makes the tinnitus less audible, because what we're really aiming to do is to teach our brain to pay no attention to it. Just like you get used to the sounds around you in your home and you don't hear the grandfather clock anymore. Even though it's ticking, your brain is ignoring it, and that's what we want to do with tinnitus.
Brian, thank you for coming on. It's a great subject. I'm glad we got to talk, because I've learned a lot, and I might be paying you a visit very shortly.
My pleasure.
Thanks for coming on, Brian.
Thank you very much.
We look forward to seeing you. And our on location today is with Tara Robbins of Just Sweat It.